That's a big bell.
What do I have access to that I can spend my time doing so that I can, work? And I thought, well, I have, my life. I have the everyday thing. Here it is. It's all here. And so that was a really important recognition in a way of the value of, working with your own life. And by extension, every time I have a realization, I think, wow, if everybody knew this, it would change the world. And it's like, if everybody felt that way about their own lives and their own things, the just mundane thing of your life, that this is the real stuff, it would change everything. You would really, and so that's kind of where I started from. And I thought, instead of making pieces and things which are like, your masterpiece each time, it's like, I'm just going to document this process as I go along, and those will be the pieces. The idea that, the sunrise and sunset are things that you can't argue with. People can't argue about it. They can argue about whether the earth is flat or it turns around, or whatever. But you cannot argue that the sun does indeed rise and set twice a day. There is a very particular moment when, it's happening. You can argue about that too, but given that, it's something that everybody in the world can agree on. And the idea that you have a bell is the sound of a bell travels further than your voice. And you can hear when somebody else is like observing that moment with you. So my idea would be to create this network around the world that, just follows the sunrise and the sunset. And we recognize how we are connected, to each other and to the natural world, like through this observation and this act. So that's my daily bell. It's like a contest. Let's do it again. Let's do it faster. Like really go like that. Go. Oh, lovely. It feels good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It makes me a little dizzy. When I was working at the Exploratorium, some guys came from Bell Labs, and they were, Bell Labs has done so much experimentation with the voice and communication, mostly so they know like the least possible bandwidth that you need to be able to to be able to have speech be intelligible, so it's economical. But they were experimenting, and the guy said, they were playing electronic tones through very long tubes, and some of the notes they played didn't sound. I thought, oh, that's really interesting. So I went out to the machine shop, and they had a metal rack with lots of tubes all over it. And so I would and they're all dusty and yucky. And I'd go up and I'd sing into a bunch of the different tubes. And at one point I hit a tube, and I would just go like, ooh, I could do a glissando, ooh. And there was one tube that there were a lot of notes I couldn't sing. So I pulled that tube out, and it was a 9-foot tube. And I thought, this is a little high. I have to hit these notes. So my tube is 9.5 feet, so it lowered it a little bit, but it matches the range of, my voice with the harmonic series of a 9.5-foot tube, starting at the first, second, third harmonic. And so there's an area in the tube where if you try to sing certain notes, everywhere, when you try to sing these harmonics in the tube, there's, as you sing into a tube, your voice comes out the bottom and then bounces back up. Some of it comes back up the tube. The part that's exactly 180 degrees out of phase with the closed end of the tube, which is your vocal cords, cancels out. So it's like somebody's touching your throat and you can't sing these notes. But if you try really hard, you get all this weird stuff happening because it's all this interference with your vocal cords. that still connects me to music, I feel like, is the performance thing and the relationship thing and this part. And in the same way that you might zoom in on a timbral relationship, like or the air that a person makes when they make a note and how that might blend in with the sound that the note itself makes, or just different ways that things relate to that. It's like finding that tiny little, creating a place for people to enter that spot and to open that up so they can experience what that's like. That's where I feel like I work as a composer. That's how I think of myself that way. And sound is my medium. That's what I love.
But you gotta be careful. But you gotta be
really careful. You look like a clown. I know. And I do that when I'm looking in the mirror.
Yeah.
But you can at least tell. Okay, hold on. Here, you do it. Put it on me. Okay, make it look like, don't make me look stupid, all right?
I love it.
Okay. Is it good?
Yeah,
Is it good?
looking good.